Good afternoon, parents from 7th and 8th grade English. This is going to be a brief introduction to how to use Classcraft, how to operate Classcraft, especially now during remote learning. This video is going to be divided into two sections for 8th grade English parents and for 7th grade English parents. So right now, before the video actually gets started, go ahead and take a look at the video description below on YouTube and check to make sure exactly which minute the portion of the video starts depending on the grade level that your child is in. Also, I'll be showing you, besides the parent interface, the student interface, because for whatever the reason, possibly to make it more simplified for the parents, Classcraft actually shows a lot more to what the students can access than to what the parents can access. So I'm going to show you both. So for the parents that really want to ensure that students are completing all of the work that needs to get done, I'll show you what the student interface looks like so that you can monitor your child's progress. And right now I'll show you what the parents interface looks like so you can see exactly what you have access to as a parent. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you may notice is that Classcraft on a internet browser on a desktop computer or laptop looks very different than what it might on an iOS or Android device. The apps have limited functionality, whereas from an internet browser on an actual desktop or laptop computer, you actually have more liberty to do a lot more, and everything looks a lot cleaner. It's a lot easier to access. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I definitely encourage both parents and students to be accessing Classcraft throughout remote learning, if possible, through a desktop or laptop computer. The iPads from school work great for Classcraft, but it's a lot easier to navigate if you're going through a desktop or laptop computer. So from the parent access, the first thing you'll see is your child's name up here. And the first function I want to go over with parents is GP. You can award your child up to 15 gold per day. We already awarded our child on this video 7 gold, so they're down to 8 gold. So you can actually set up reasons why your child can earn gold, possibly for doing things around the house or helping with their homework for the day, or even specific chores that they might have, such as vacuuming. So we can go ahead and give our child gold for doing things around the house, and it works really great as a positive reinforcement, especially now while the children are working on school from home. Now, the most important function from Classcraft right now for remote access, where I'm posting all the children's assignments, is going to be right here on the Quest feature. Again, this is for 8th grade English parents, so this is what the 8th grade map looks like right now. There's a lot of quests, Red Umbrella, Diary of a Young Girl, all of those are from previous quarters. The only two quests that you, the parents, and your children need to be paying attention to right now during the 4th quarter are these two right here in the middle. We have the Outsiders quest to the north, and we have the Remote Access Center right here in the middle. These are the only two quests that the parents and the children need to be paying attention to for 8th grade English. Okay, so the Outsiders is going to be used strictly for reading assignments, because the Outsiders is the novel that we're reading for the 4th quarter. And then all other assignments as they pertain to language or to social studies are going to be posted here in the Remote Access Center. So let's go ahead and go into our Outsiders quest first. And you can see from your for your child that there are two what we call quest markers available. So when I post in the assignments or in the homework announcements, please check this quest marker. What I'm referring to are these little glowing green orbs, which indicate particular tasks that the students need to complete. So right now, for the Outsiders, there are two quest markers, one for task number 1 and one for exam number 1. Let's go into task number 1. It opens up on the Story tab. There's 3 tabs: Story, Task, and Assignment. On the Story tab just gives the child a little introduction as to what exactly needs to be done prior to starting the task. It says you should not be attempting these assignments until you've read this section from the book, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Please make sure you read the directions carefully, etc., etc. The particular assignments, which you can actually go ahead and see as well, are going to be on the Task tab. Now the Task tab is where it shows what I've assigned for chapters 1 and 2. So you can see the top half here is one assignment, which is entitled the Comprehension Guide. And then the second assignment was titled Identity. Now the differences are, one needs to be posted on the discussion tab, one needs to be posted on the assignment tab. From your parent interface, unfortunately, I don't know why Classcraft restricts this, and I have opened up a ticket of inquiry, you cannot see the discussion board. And now that's why I'm going to show you the student interface, so that if you do want to look for your child's post on the discussion board, you will have access to seeing that. Now, the comprehension guide refers to an attachment below, the Outsiders Comp Guide 1, and that's actually available right down here as a downloadable file. So your child can actually go ahead, download the file, answer directly onto the document from a computer, and re-upload the same file just with their answers typed directly on, re-upload the same file to the task, and then that's it, they're done. They don't need to put their name on it since it automatically saves their name along with the assignment. You can see here that this comprehension guide was due on Wednesday, and they can go ahead and upload that directly over here to the assignment tab. Now, from your parent access, what you will see on the assignment tab is what the assignment was worth in terms of a Classcraft reward, any feedback that I've given the child. So for this particular instance, I haven't left any feedback yet, and what your child has submitted. Now, if your child has not submitted an assignment yet, this is exactly what you're going to see. You're going to see the words your assignment, and you're going to just see a blank space down here. This particular instance, this task has not been submitted. So if you're seeing this on your parent access, it's because your child has not submitted that particular assignment for that task. So that's for the assignment tab. Now, as I mentioned, the discussion tab, the parents can't see, but the students can. For the discussion assignments that I give them, I do pose a prompt that allows them to give a little bit of an opinion, but is also somewhat related to what we're talking about in the reading. And the first part of every discussion assignment is their initial response. Their initial response, I'll go ahead and give them a minimum requirement of words that needs to be done. For this particular task, it was 250 words, their initial response. But then later on in the week, they do have to return to the discussion board and respond to at least 2 other students' responses in a minimum of 100 words each, so that even though we're all working from our own homes or our own dwellings, the conversation can still be taking place. It's still as if we're all with each other, we're all having a discussion about the novel, even working virtually from home. So I really enjoyed the discussion tab. It actually is a very popular tool, even in high school and college instruction, because it allows the children to continue having a conversation with each other, whether they're in person or whether they're at home. So you can see that for the discussion board, there were 2 distinct deadlines. Their initial response, that is their 250 word response to the prompt, was due yesterday on Thursday. And then their 2 comments on 2 other students' posts are due by tonight. So as I mentioned before, for parents, unfortunately, the discussion board can't be seen, but later on I'll show you the child's interface, and you can see exactly what the discussion board looks like. Now, the exam is very similar. The exam just opened up for them today. You have a downloadable file, which is the exam. They can answer the questions directly on the file and then re-upload it to the assignment tab. Again, this is what it looks like if it has not been submitted yet. There are clearly written directions here and on the file itself. So you can go ahead and take a look at those directions when you open up that exam from either your account or your child's account. So that wraps up the Outsiders quest, and as we move through the novel, more and more quest markers will be available. They won't be able to access the first ones anymore because they will have then be past due, but they will continue to be able to access the new quest markers that are made available, and as they go along, you, the parents, will also be able to see each quest marker. So we're going to go back to the quest feature. Now we're going to go into the remote access center. So here you can see there are several more quest markers. There's actually 6, but only 5 of them are functional right now. The first one I want to go over is the daily analogy, because for attendance purposes, for 8th grade especially, they need to be completing an analogy of the day that I post every single morning. Now the analogy is found here. You'll know it's today's analogy because it says today's date at the top. Today's, for instance, is Argentina is to South America, as France is to blank. So from the student's side, they can go ahead and submit the answer directly onto the assignment tab. They'll go ahead and write the answer for today's analogy. They'll hit submit and it'll show up on my end. That's how I'll know that the child was present. It's a very easy question that needs to be answered every day for attendance purposes. The next quest marker, this has no assignments attached to it. This is just to link over to American history assignments, which right now is just based on Chapter 16, Lesson 1, which is titled The Search for Compromise. 8th grade social studies can go ahead and click here. They can access my lecture video on Chapter 16, Lesson 1 that I've posted. And I instruct them to not only watch the video, but go ahead and answer some questions that appear at the end of the video. Now, I definitely recommend them watching the video to be able to answer the questions. It's going to be very hard to answer the questions if they have not watched the video. And then definitely go ahead and upload the answers to those questions, again, onto the assignment tab. The deadline for this assignment is going to be tonight by 11:30, and then this is a reference map that is referred to in the video. And again, this is what an assignment tab would look like from the parent's end. The next quest marker is for the English workbook. This assignment is not due until Monday, March 30th, which is the first day after spring break. Spring break is now next week. So again, this is another lecture video that the students need to watch, except this one, instead of being social studies, this one is on grammar. And again, they upload it to the assignment tab. Free rice has been an alternative to Achieve 3000 right now during Lenten season. Normally I assign 2 articles on Achieve 3000, but now during Lent, your children can actually go on to freerice.com and answer questions to donate grains of rice to countries in need. For each question answered correctly, the World Health Organization actually donates 10 grains of rice to a country in need. So the free rice for this week to replace 1 article on Achieve. So if they do take advantage of free rice, they do still have to give me 1 article on Achieve 3000. If they do decide to do free rice, it replaces 1 article. They need to answer 30 questions, which will therefore be 300 grains of rice. Once they've done that, they take a screenshot of their 300 grains with the date and time at the top left corner and go ahead and upload that into the assignment tab. Okay. Now the last quest marker here on remote access, and this will wrap up the 8th grade parent visibility, is the live chat. Now again, live chat is a discussion board, so unfortunately from the parents you can't see anything, but this is actually a live discussion where they can ask me any questions. And the great thing about having a discussion board for a live discussion is that if another student has asked the same question and they see that the same question has already been answered, they don't have to ask the same question then. And then if they see someone else asking a question that they already know the answer to, they can answer each other's question, creating the system of codependence with each other. So that wraps up 8th grade parent visibility. I'm going to go now into 8th grade student visibility so that the 7th grade video can start at one particular time, and the 7th grade parents or 8th grade parents don't have to be jumping back and forth throughout the video. So we're going to go ahead and log out of our parent account, and we're going to go back in now with our student account. So for the students, it looks very similar initially. They have a few more buttons here that they can access. The most important one being the messages, where they can actually see my class announcements that I make to the entire class. And then if I send them an individual message, it'll actually come out here on Mr. G. Individual messages just to that student show up on Mr. G. Messages to the whole class appear on class announcements. And right now during virtual learning, they can actually send me messages privately and also attach files in case I'm asking them in particular for something that they haven't turned in. They can go ahead and send me that. But I do want to make sure that you, the parents, do have access to seeing our messages if you need to. So feel free to log into your child's account. Ask me for your child's credentials if needed, their login credentials, or even your login credentials as a parent if it is needed, so that you can go ahead and have access to those messages as well. From the child's interface, again, the most important aspect for accessing assignments, again, is going to be the quest feature. Everything, again, looks exactly the same, except now, when we go into the tasks, we now have access to the discussion board. So we have here the discussion board for task number 1. We can see several students have already replied to the discussion board. So they can actually go here. They can type their initial response here, but then they can choose 2 students to go ahead and reply to. So they can go ahead and leave a comment in response. Their comments have to be 100 words. So they'll go ahead and just, write their example here, and their comments will show up in response to that student's post, and then that student will actually get a notification saying, hey, another student already left you a comment. So like that, the conversation continues going. And as I mentioned before, they type their initial response right here. Initial response goes at the top of the page in this text box. Okay. So the initial response, as I mentioned before, needs to be 250 words, and that'll show up now in its own thread. Okay. Now the assignment tab, you can also see, looks different for the children. They can upload assignments either as a text file, they can type it directly into here and submit it, or they can upload a file. Now for this particular assignment, which was a downloadable file, I strongly encourage the students to download it, write in their answers into the document that they downloaded, and then just upload the same exact document with their answers saved onto the assignment tab. So they just go ahead and submit it here, and they can actually then see my feedback once I have it graded right here where it says feedback. Okay. Same thing for exam number 1. Exam number 1, downloadable file, and then assignment can either be uploaded as a text file or as an uploaded document. Pretty much I want them to be uploading for everything except for the daily analogy. Okay, let's go back to the quest now. Again, everything looks pretty much identical, with the exception of being the assignment box that the student can actually submit on. So we're going to go ahead and submit the answer to this. So Argentina is to South America, as France is to Europe. And once we submit that, it's going to ask me, are we sure that we want to submit it? Yes, submit. And then this is my computer, so it'll send me a notification saying, hey, you have a new assignment that's been submitted. I can click there, and it'll direct me exactly to what your child just submitted. Now from the parent access, once you go in, you'll be able to see for assignment, this will no longer be blank. It'll say what your child submitted, which was the answer, for example, to today's analogy. Again, same thing, same access. For the other quest markers, everything else is pretty much going to look identical. Going over the live chat, this is what the discussion board right now looks like. They can ask each other questions. I've advised the students that as they answer questions to go ahead and delete the question once it's been answered. They can report or flag comments that are otherwise disagreeable, and it'll actually send me a notification saying one student has flagged another student's comment. You might want to go ahead and take a look at it. So again, it just creates the system of codependence between the students amongst each other. So that pretty much wraps up the student access, as well as everything for 8th grade. So at this point, I'm going to be transitioning now into 7th grade, which is perfect timing. We're about 20 minutes into the video. 7th grade parents, if you've been watching up to now, you're going to see it's very much similar for the 7th grade parents. And then 8th grade parents, if you have any questions whatsoever on how to navigate through Classcraft, feel free to go ahead and send me a message. One thing I forgot to go over for the parent account for 8th grade is that you also have a messaging feature. You click the messages box, it's the last third button on the parent interface. Instead of class announcement, it'll say parent announcement, but it'll also say Mr. G. So you can see messages to all the parents on parent announcement, and then you, the parents, can send me an individual message here. You can also definitely go ahead and email me at gfernandez@hrsrcs.org. So now we're going to go ahead and transition into 7th grade. So we're going to sign out of here, and we're going to go back into our parent access. And instead of being on our 8th grade English student, we're now going to go into our 7th grade English student. So again, you're going to see your child's name, a lot of the same aspects, messages. You're going to see right now it shows 2 different classes because this is a student who is more than one class. But since your children are either in 7th grade or in 8th grade, instead of showing up like this, it's going to say parent announcement, or it'll say the name of the class, and it'll say Mr. G. There will only be one announcement icon and one Mr. G icon. Now, 7th grade quests, there's a lot fewer than there are for 8th grade, and however, still the same as 8th grade, there are only 2 quests which 7th grade needs to be preoccupied with, and that is the Remote Access Center and Soul Surfer. Soul Surfer is the quest for reading for 7th grade because this is the novel, the memoir, that 7th grade is reading for the 4th quarter. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the reading quest for 7th grade. You can see, just like 8th grade, 2 open quest markers right now. These are each called quest markers. And task number 1 tells the students you should have read these chapters from Soul Surfer before attempting this assignment. They had to read through chapter 2 prior to starting the task. And you can see that their task for Soul Surfer, the foreword through chapter 2, was split up into 2 separate assignments. So they had to complete a comprehension guide, which was due on Wednesday night, which is accessible through this file down here that they can download and complete. And then they have a discussion response that they have to do. Their prompt is here. They had to respond to the prompt in 250 words and then respond to at least one other student in a minimum of 100 words. So their initial response was due yesterday night, and now their comment is due by tomorrow night, which I've just extended onto Sunday due to a little error in the messaging process. So all the instructions for the assignment is available to the parent access. If you go over to the assignment tab, I use this opportunity to show you from a parent account what it'll look like if your child has already submitted the assignment. So you can see this is what, if they use the text box, this is where anything in the text box will appear. And then you can actually even go ahead and download the assignment that your child submitted. So you can actually check your own child's work. If they've already submitted it before you got home, you can open it up, you can check their work for them and make sure that what they turned in to me is actually to the parents' expectations for them. So this is parent visibility, and again, the discussion board, unfortunately, for whatever the reason, not visible to the parents, but I do want the parents to have access to the discussion board, so I'm pushing Classcraft representatives to go ahead and get that done. But for the meantime, I'm more than happy of giving you access to your child's account if you deem necessary. So that's task number 1. For 7th grade reading. And then, as I just opened up this morning, we have exam number 1, which is based on chapters 1 and 2. Again, downloadable file that they can go ahead and download, save, answer the questions, and then upload the same exact file with their answers saved as an attachment to the assignment tab on their student access. So that wraps up 7th grade reading quest, the Soul Surfer quest. So now we're going to go onto the remote access quest for 7th grade. It looks very similar to the 8th grade one. It's a little bit less because I don't have the 7th graders for social studies, so you're going to only see 5 quest markers here. 7th grade also has a daily analogy, which I am using to see that they're actually logging in. I don't take attendance for 7th grade, but I do encourage the students to be getting the analogies done so that I know, the teacher, as a teacher, that the students are being held accountable to logging into Classcraft every single day. So 7th grade's analogy for today, it'll show today's date, It'll show the analogy. Today's is exercise is to gym, as shopping is to, and they'll go ahead and submit their answer down here. This child has not submitted anything, so this is what it looks like if your child has not submitted an answer or an assignment yet to a particular quest marker. Moments of Faith was already assigned earlier in the week, and everyone in our class already submitted it, with the exception of about 1 or 2 students. You're going to see what they submitted over here, and then once I've left feedback for that child, it'll either show up as a downloadable file, which they can download and see my comments, or it'll show up as just text written here saying, hey, good job, I really like that you did this, here's your score on the assignment. It'll show up on the feedback section. Now, since I have 7th grade for reading as well as language, I'm using the Remote Access Center quest to go ahead and post language assignments. 7th grade right now has only 1 lecture video that they need to watch, which is on the next 2 lessons in grammar on adjectives and comparing with adjectives. They need to watch this video and complete these 2 pages from the English workbook prior to Monday, March 30th. Now, next week is spring break. That's why I'm giving them till the first day back from spring break, which is going to be that Monday by the evening at 11:30 p.m. And they'll go ahead and submit a picture of their completed workbook pages or 2 pictures, however many pictures it takes. They could upload more than 1 file to the assignment tab, and they'll go ahead and upload it, and from your parent access, you'll see the pictures that they've uploaded down here in the Your Assignment section. Free rice, as I described for the 8th graders, I'm also opening up for the 7th graders to replace 1 article on Achieve 3000 instead of doing 2 articles. The children can choose to do 1 article on Achieve, and instead of 1 other article, they can go ahead and complete Free Rice. Free Rice is accessed through freerice.com, and for each question that they answer correctly on Free Rice, for each question they answer right, 10 grains of rice are donated to the World Health Organization. So I'm asking the students this week to replace 1 article on Achieve that they have to do, that they go ahead and complete 300 grains of rice and submit a screenshot of their completed free rice onto the assignment tab for Free Rice Quest Marker. And that's replacing 1 Achieve article. So each child, if they're doing free rice, if they're not doing free rice, they still are accountable to go on to Achieve 3000, and they're either doing 2 articles if they choose not to do free rice, or 1 article if they are opting to do free rice. And then last but not least, as we have for 8th grade, we have a live chat, which is a discussion board, and as I mentioned before, unfortunately right now Classcraft does not allow parents to go onto the discussion board. But let's go ahead and show you what a 7th grade child's interface looks like. So we're going to sign out from here, and we're going to go back onto our student account. And we're going to go into the 7th grade class. Now your child will only have 1 class since your child is either a 7th grader or an 8th grader. And from the 7th grade child, they can see class announcements that I've sent out, and they can send me direct messages. This is through the messaging feature, and as I've shown you before, the parents also have access to messaging. They can message me, parents, I want you to have access to your child's messages. So if needed, I can give you your child's login credentials via email or a parent message through Classcraft, whichever you prefer. If you need my email, again, it's gfernandez@hrsrcs.org. Okay, but from your child's account, again, for all assignments, it's going to be on the Quest button. And now for the Soul Surfer quest, now when we go into the task, we can see what we've uploaded, we can see what we've written with the upload, and we can also see the discussion board. So the discussion board, as I mentioned, each student's initial response needs to be 250 words. So these are all the children so far that have submitted their responses, and we can see in a couple of instances that there are already students who have commented on each other's posts. So it, again, creates a system of accountability of as if we were in school continuing a conversation, just like they would in a classroom setting. So we can go ahead and submit our initial response here. except this needs to be 250 words. We're going to go ahead and submit our initial response here, and this is where your child would submit their initial post, and then they can go ahead and comment on another student, and they can go ahead and say in 100 words what they liked or didn't like, or what they agree with, disagree with, their opinions on another student's post. So this is all access to the discussion board. And again, parents, you can't see the discussion boards, but you can if you go on through your student's account. Now, for the exam, it's again a downloadable file, and they can upload the assignment through the Your Assignment box or the Upload box underneath that particular quest marker. 7th grade student access for the Remote Access Center. Everything looks almost identical. Again, just like 8th grade, we have here our daily analogy that they have to complete. They read the analogy, and they can submit their answer here. So today's analogy, which said exercise is to gym as shopping is to, we're going to go ahead and answer that as either being a store or a mall, depending on perspective. And we're going to go ahead and submit our answer. We hit submit. It's always going to ask you this button. Are you sure you want to submit? Once it's submitted, you cannot make changes. It's going to ask you if you're sure. You hit submit, and it'll notify me, the teacher, as soon as they complete their task for that particular quest marker. Moments of faith, everyone already in the class already submitted it, with the exception of a couple students. You can see what they've downloaded here, what they've posted, and feedback that I've gone ahead and left them. English workbook, again, also the same. They can post the assignment here, attach a file, attach the workbook pages in the form of a picture or multiple pictures. Free rice, same thing. They're attaching a screenshot. And then the live chat, which I mentioned before, is a discussion board. They can go ahead and ask me questions that any student in the class can see, so they can answer each other's questions if they feel the need to. So we can go ahead and say something like, hey, Mr. G, how do I access the discussion board for task number 1? And once they post that, not only will I see it, but any child in the class can see this, so they can answer each other's questions if it's been answered already. Again, this is all just to create a system of codependence and also a system of accountability with our 7th and 8th grade students. So that wraps up this video for 7th and 8th grade parent access, student access. Again, at the end of the day, the desktop version, laptop version from a internet browser looks very different from Apple devices, Android devices. So strongly recommending throughout the duration of this remote learning that parents and students access through a laptop or a desktop computer if possible, if at all possible. If not, again, the iOS and Android apps work just fine, but they are a little more limited on functionality, so definitely recommending access whenever possible from a desktop computer. Again, 7th and 8th grade parents, I am more than happy to answer any of your questions, whether it be your access account for your parent account for Classcraft, or your child's account information, so that you can see their discussion boards and the messages that they have sent me. I am more than happy to give you that information to you. Each of your children should know their own usernames and passwords, so they can give it to you. But in the case that they forgot it or they don't give it to you, you could definitely go ahead and message or email me. Again, one more time, my email is gfernandez@hrsrcs.org. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And again, feel free to message me. Please take care of yourselves. God bless. Stay safe. Thank you very much. And have a great, wonderful weekend and blessed spring break. Thank you so much. Goodbye.